Hey everyone, and welcome back to another King Arthur Legends Rise video. So in today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about teams for this Aine mission, Anya mission event, where you have to use her in Apolleia, I think that's how you say it. But there's good rewards here. You know, summon tickets. You have selector tomes, selector awakening chests, star seeds. I don't think anyone truly really needs at this point, but then there's other things that are kind of a hassle to farm, but if you're, a newer player or whatever, hopefully this team helps you. I've got a speed team, and then I also have just like a safe team. I do want to touch on the rate up summon here, though, because I think one of the things that people tend to do in this game is they will just wait for the new hero. And they think that the new hero will always be better than existing or old heroes. I don't really think that is the case with this game. I'll tell you right now that the heroes that they've introduced, only one or two have been kind of meta-changing. The first one is Nika. I think she's been really, really strong. She's probably the best healer in the game, for sure. And then Ceres is good, but it's almost from a PvP setting. I did talk about her Fire Relic in a video not too long ago, and her Fire Relic is a very good damage dealing relic, and it's been very good in Forbidden Dungeon Hard, which is what I was kind of predicting. However, yeah, it's I don't think she's still game breaking. I would much rather have Anya rather than Ceres. Now, the other thing that people need to pay attention to with those rate-up summons is the game continues to add more and more of these legendary heroes. So the likelihood of you pulling them from normal special summons is going to go down the more that they introduce new heroes. So being able to pull a game-changing hero like Anya is going to get harder and harder from the normal tickets. So this rate-up summon, I would make the case that she's probably going to be better than most new heroes. The other thing that needs to be talked about is the fact that Anya is kind of one of a kind or unique. She's very similar to like Morgan, right? I've mentioned how Morgan just does so many different things that it's hard to replace her as a whole. Anya is very similar. She's a true amazing support, but then she also comes with crazy damage, especially if you have her Chivalry 4. Chivalry 4 is the key here, where she counterattacks using her skill 3. But any new hero that they come out with, it either has to be a step above Anya, or it's going to be in a different category of Anya. I hope that makes sense. Like, Nika adds on to Anya. Nika is a healer and support, and the reason why she is so good is because the only other option that we had at that point was Gillian. And Gillian is very good, but Gillian is more of a turn meter control and boost hero, where Nika is a healer with support because she gives additional buffs, where Gillian, like I said, is just the reduction of turn meter. So Anya is buffs plus damage. So I'm not quite sure what the developers could come out with that would power creep Anya, is my whole point. I think the next things that they're going to come out with is either another type of support hero or just a different damage dealer, maybe a control hero. There's a couple different heroes that they can still release in the game that are in the game, but they haven't released. Heroes like, I can't even remember his name, but Davy Jones, the guy who's got the squid face. So they do have some of those legendary heroes, but they're not really worth going for. So I think pulling Anya, long story short, is probably worth these tickets. I always hate saying stuff like that because then the next hero could be absolutely amazing and people are like, why'd you tell me to pull? But yeah, I hope I got my point across. All right, I'm done rambling. On to the teams. So this is the dungeon that you're going to be aiming for. This isn't a great dungeon to farm. I've mentioned this multiple times. However, I do think it is probably worth farming now because you'll get the additional rewards while having the opportunity to farm these sets. I think that the more important thing is the actual leather crafting materials. These are more important to you than the actual sets in here, mainly because when you are crafting equipment, there are some pretty good sets that you can craft with this, which is the resistance set. This is really, really good on Anya, and that's about it. But I think these are way more valuable than the actual life set and the defense set. So, yeah, let's talk about the teams. Okay, so the first team, and I'm going to run the video in the background. This is just a random team, but the team that we're going to showcase is going to be Bodwin. Now, I have him, I think, in the video in his Storm Relic, but it's not truly that important. I do have a Fire Morgan, just in case people do not have her additional relics. And then we have our damage dealer, which is Arthur in his Storm Relic. He has really great damage coming out of his skill 3. And then, of course, we have Anya. Now, Anya is in her Frost Relic, I believe, in the video. And then I'll show a speed team after that. But this is your team. Bodwin has a leader skill here where he increases the max HP of your team. On top of that, this boss has interesting mechanics when it comes to shared damage, or I think it's protection. So if your team has protection, this boss ends up putting effect accuracy decrease on itself, which is really good because this boss has tons of abnormal status and debuffs to put on your team. So if you bring someone with protection, this is going to really make this fight easier. And Bodwin brings share damage on his skill 3. On top of that, this boss, you'll see here that all of these debuffs and abnormal status has this really high damage ability in Poisonous Breath. But it says if the target does not have protection, it does 300% damage. So it'll do 3 times the damage if you don't have protection. So that's another thing that is valuable for having protection. And then this one as well, attacks all enemies, but if you have protection, then all of those heroes that have it will gain invincibility. So there's 3 things that help you in this match if you have protection. And it's 2 skills, and then also being able to just put up effect accuracy decrease on the boss. So yeah, that's what Bodwin's here for. Like I said, you're going to be using his skill 3, which is just the share damage, and then he also gives defense increase. There's also some things that tie into his passives whenever you use skill 3, especially if he's above a chivalry 8. Yeah. Morgan, we know here, she's for the damage amplification, and then Arthur is here for your true damage, and then Anya is basically just playing a support role. Now, Anya here for me is Chivalry 8. I know that's kind of a big deal for some people, especially since they buffed her, but I think the key thing here, if you want to do this run just like the one in the video, is you'll need her Chivalry 3 because she starts with buffs. If you don't have that, that's okay. You're probably going to have to tweak the gear a little bit. But yeah, let's just talk about the gear for a quick second. This is what my Bodwin is using. He's in a Vigor set and then some broken sets, and he's got effect resistance, attack speed, and he's got attack speed on the orb. These are his overall stats. 17,000 HP, 178 speed. He's got high effect resistance. You can do that if you want. It doesn't matter. Morgan is probably the hardest to gear from this, but also these stats are not truly needed. She's at 287 speed with vigor and effect accuracy. So I know these are going to be a little bit harder to do. In all honesty, you just need speed and as much effect accuracy as you can get. If she's in vigor, that's really going to help because it's going to allow your Arthur to continuously use his skill 3. So Arthur is just in a lot of damage dealing sets. He's an attack set with critical set and then strife on the bottom. These are his overall stats. So he gives himself critical strike increase 3, which is 60% crit rate. So that's why we have him right around 40%. His attack, I think, is pretty low and achievable for most. And then he's rocking 108% crit damage. So I think his gear is probably the most achievable. But this is more of a safer team. Now, if you don't want to go with this team and have something a little more slower and even more safe, you can throw in a Turin. Turin's going to be really great here just for the heals. You can use her skill 3 or skill 2. And you'll keep Anya the same. But this is the team that we're showcasing in the video. And this is more of, the safest team that you can find while still doing it in a decent amount of time. As long as your damage is there from Arthur and from Morgan, then this is going to be okay. But if you want something slower, you just take out Morgan, you bring in Turin, you bring in Gillian if you have her, you bring in Nika if you have her, just to keep the team alive and for Arthur to keep pumping out the damage. Okay? Now, the other team that we're running was Nika, Arthur, and then we were running Morgan in her Storm Relic, and I think we might have even changed Anya to the Storm Relic. I can't quite remember. I'm sure I'll show it up on the screen here. But yeah, this is your speed team. This is going to be extremely unachievable for most people just because high chivalries, this shouldn't be your goal. I did just want to show it here just in case people do have these heroes and they're wondering if they can, speed this run up a little bit. So yeah, I think we'll just run this here as a one of, and we'll get out of your hair. So Nika brings the vigor. We got Anya using her skill 2. Arthur puts out a lot of damage. One thing with this team as well is sometimes it fails because we don't have shared damage on here. So if the boss ends up getting away with any of those skills that we talked about where he just does 300% damage or whatever, it's gonna be a fail. But I think this team is fast enough where if you have enough fails but you can build it, it really won't matter because you're gonna get through this enough where the speed is worth it even if you do fail a couple times. So Arthur's cranking out some damage. His damage is really underrated. I think a lot of people underrate Arthur just because he's a rare and you start with him. But yeah, he's actually really, really strong. So this is whenever the run passes, is because if the boss goes after this point, you will end up dying. So Arthur needs to kill the boss there. If he doesn't, it's a fail. So yeah, those are the teams, guys. I hope this was helpful and enjoyable, and I hope you're having a great weekend. So that's all I got for you, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.